Hi everyone, welcome back to our podcast Moving to Australia, brought to you by Debika Migration Services. I'm your co-host Arun Belur, and joining me in the studio is the founder of Debika Migration Services, Amitava Deb. Amitava, how are you? How was your weekend?
Good morning, Arun. I'm good, thank you. Weekend was good. Went to Taronga Zoo. Do you know where Taronga Zoo is?
Towards the north, right? North of Sydney.
Yeah, near Mossman. It's a beautiful ride from Sydney Harbour. You should try that with your kids. They will love it.
Yeah, probably by the end of this month when the term ends.
Right.
Today we'll be focusing on international students.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of them who come to Australia to study, to pursue a degree, an undergrad degree or master's or even a PhD program. Now, a lot of them, like you said, they are confused about their visa requirements, work rights, and let's touch upon how they can maximize their stay and improve their work experience while in Australia and ultimately secure pathway to permanent residency. So the first question that comes to my mind is, what advice would you give those people who want to come here to study, but after graduating they're keen on seeking employment and ultimately permanent residency?
Okay. Right. It's an interesting question. Now, there are many aspects to a higher study. When you enroll or when you try to enroll for studies, the first and foremost thing is, what is your interest? What do you want to do in life? Forget about Australia or any other country. It is a very important decision. Is this something that you want to do? Then the next is, okay, after I do that, I have certain other goals. I want to settle in Australia. Let's not hide it. A lot of students come here to eventually get PR. Let's not even pretend. I don't believe in this GTE, genuine temporary entrant write-up. The government even recognizes now that GTE is not something that should be pursued anymore. Anyway, back to the topic. They come here, they study. Before they come here, they go to education consultants. And most of the students from India, they select MBA or they select analytics, thinking these are the two burning or growing. MBA, there is a craze, of course, in India. But does MBA lead to PR? Forget about temporary residence. We are talking about PR, the end goal. Does MBA lead to PR? Maybe not.
And why is that?
That's because MBA is not a skill. It is a value addition to your core skill. Okay. So if you do an MBA, you then can be a management consultant. You can be an HR person. You can be a recruitment consultant or a marketing specialist. Now, those are the skills either you have developed because you have studied, like you have studied engineering. So you're a civil engineer. Or you're a marketing specialist because you are going to have some work experience as a marketing specialist. So if you do an MBA and you do not have a work experience, then you are stuck because you cannot do your skills assessment, which is the first step towards skilled migration. Without skills assessment, you cannot move to the next stage. And to do the skills assessment, you must have work experience if you are doing MBA. Unless you have an engineering degree, then you do not need MBA because your engineering degree itself is a skill which you have acquired. Or if you are a teacher, or you are an accountant.
So skill assessment comes into play when you're applying for your PR.
Yes, that is the most important mandatory step, skills assessment. And the other one is, of course, English. Now, for skills assessment, certain occupations do not require experience. Other occupations require experience. Now, if you come here and do MBA, after that you do not have experience unless you have a skill from your home country. What do you do? So then you need to get experience. For that, you need to live here or go back.
So how does one
Live here?
continue living here?
Yeah, that is the.
What would you suggest
Well,
if someone
luckily-
does come here for an MBA?
so luckily the government has a pathway for that. The government do recognize people come here to gain work experience as well, and give them an opportunity to apply for PR if they meet the requirement. So the criteria for post-study work visa, which is the most popular visa after finishing studies, subclass 485, which has got two streams: post-study work stream and graduate stream. Now, post-study work stream is for those who have studied for 2 years, either leading to a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or a PhD. So that 2 years comprises of 92 weeks, at least 92 weeks of study. And then they automatically qualify to apply for 485. They must apply within 6 months, and they must get a English test result which is valid for the last not more than 3 years old, and they must have Australian police clearance in hand and medical insurance. These are the 3 mandatory documents required, other than of course the completion letter.
Okay, let's talk about that English proficiency exam. Now, before a student moves to Australia, they have to anyways take either TOEFL, IELTS or PTE. I come here, I study. Why do I need to take the PTE or IELTS again? Why do I need to showcase my English proficiency? Because I have now a degree from Australia.
That's an interesting question. I have attended a seminar conducted by Home Affairs. Do you believe someone who comes from a non-English speaking background here to study in their home country, let's take India. All these students who come here from India, in India they would be speaking in English at their college or even at home. Once they are here in Australia, they have their own circle of friends who are from the same country, and they will be communicating only in their own language, which is not English. And the level of English actually drops.
And there's a study being done on this?
Yes.
By the government?
By the government. So basically, it is to ensure that they continue to be proficient in English. Because Australia is an English-speaking country. Yes, it's multicultural. It promotes multiculturalism. But English is the main language. You must speak English.
So once I graduate from school here, how do I know which is the right work stream for me? Post-study work stream. Is it the graduate work stream or is it the post-study work stream?
If it is diploma, or if it is less than bachelor's degree, which is diploma or certificate 3 or certificate 4, which is the final certificate that you will hold after those 2 years from a series of 1 or more studies, then it is the graduate stream. If it is bachelor's or higher, it is the post-study work stream. The graduate stream has an additional requirement. You must do a 485 skills assessment. So, say for example, a chef, a diploma holder, or a motor mechanic, they must have a 485 skills assessment.
But they also have to meet the Australian study requirements, right?
Yes.
If someone gets a diploma or a
everyone
trade
has to study
certificate
for those 2 years.
So your course has to be registered on CRICOS, which is the Commonwealth Register of Institutions and Courses for Overseas Students.
They always are. Otherwise, they will not get visa in the first place. They will have a course which is on CRICOS.
Are there any degrees or diplomas that you're aware of that are not registered on CRICOS?
There are many, but then there will be no one doing those courses, because if they are doing it because they probably just want to do a short course and go back. They will not get a student visa if it is not CRICOS.
Let's say I graduate. I apply for a 485.
Mm-hmm.
I get my 485 approved. Now I'm seeking employment.
Yeah.
I can't find employment.
Yeah.
485 is about to expire.
Yes.
Then what are the options I have left for me to continue to live and work, stay in Australia and seek employment?
There are many options. One option could be you opt for another student visa, provided you meet the requirement, provided you have interest. Do not study just because you want to stay here. I keep saying. You must study if you have interest. For example, somebody has done MBA and now they want to increase or enhance their people management. So they can do a diploma in people management. So that's one option. The other option is they can get an employer to sponsor them. If they have 2 years of work experience in the field, in the nominated field, provided the occupation is on the list for 482, then an employer can nominate them, or an employer can nominate them under 407 training visa. Training visa is for those who have recent work experience or recent study, completed recent study. They can apply for 407. So there are a few options. Also, now COVID visa subclass 408 was an option. It is something that started during COVID. The government gave an option for those who lost work experience or lost their time because of COVID. They could apply for this pandemic visa.
So now they can extend their stay here?
To extend their stay. Unfortunately, on 2nd of September, the government have announced that they are winding down this visa. That's it. So I was busy on that night or the first lodging for those who were desperate to lodge before it was discontinued. Now they can. Only those who are still holding COVID visa, they can probably hold or apply for another COVID visa until for another 6 months. They have this option, but they have to pay. Earlier it was free. So COVID visa was an option, no longer an option. No point probably talking about it. It's just for historical interest. But there is also an option to extend your 485. So 485 has various options. One is known as 485 extension stream. Extension stream is for those who have studied in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and for mathematics, I think.
Yes.
Yes. So basically, those who have studied science and related courses, and there's a list of all those CRICOS courses. They can technically go into the IME account and apply for another extension of their 485 visa. But there are certain prerequisites.
So they would be eligible if their qualification leads to an occupation or matches an occupation on the skilled occupation list.
No,
with
not skilled occupation list. It's nothing to do with skilled occupation list.
Okay.
It's the list of CRICOS codes which the government has published, which are STEM. Just a short definition, which are science and technology or engineering oriented. For example, MBA is not STEM. Okay.
Understand.
Analytics is probably not STEM.
So how would they go about extending their stay?
Go online and go through the steps in the IME account. There will be a list of occupations or the CRICOS codes as a list of values, and they can choose the one they have studied. If it is not there, then that means you are not eligible. However, what I was going to say with respect to STEM, you must be currently holding a 485 visa or on a bridging visa while waiting for a 485 visa. If someone has is no longer holding a 485 visa, then they cannot apply for this extension.
Okay, talking about bridging visa. Mm-hmm. Let's say my student visa is about to expire. Mm-hmm. I have graduated. Mm-hmm. I have lodged my 485 visa.
Yep.
And I have not yet been granted that.
Mm-hmm.
what happens when my student visa expires? Do I move over to a bridging visa?
Anyone who applies for any visa onshore gets automatically granted a bridging visa. Usually it is bridging visa A. The bridging visa A is granted but not active because you already have a valid visa. When this visa that you currently hold runs out, your bridging visa will activate. And this will remain valid until a decision is made on the application you made for the other visa.
And Vivo will automatically reflect
Yeah.
the new visa status that I have.
Yes. However, when you are on a bridging visa A, very, very important, it doesn't allow you to leave the country. If you leave, you cannot come back because it ceases to be in effect. So in those cases, one must apply for bridging visa B well in advance if they want to leave the country and come back.
Okay. And how hard is it to get that?
Very easy. Well, they have to give a reason why they want to go. Probably upload their itinerary or some information. For example, relatives are not well, or sisters getting married. Yeah.
Now, when you get a 485 approved, does the length of stay depend on the degree that you have? Is it different for a bachelor's degree, for a master's or a PhD program?
Bachelor's or a master's 2 years, PhD 4 years, and if it is diploma or less than bachelor's degree, graduate stream, usually it is 1.5 years. You can apply for a second 485 visa if you studied in a regional area.
Have you come across an extreme situation a student has found himself or herself after graduating, and how you were able to help them out? Does anything come to mind?
Yeah, a few of them. One is someone who applied for 485 and it got refused because he did not upload, or his agent did not upload, the English proficiency certificate or evidence that he has applied for English test before lodging the visa application. So then I did an appeal. It went to Administrative Tribunal, AAT, Administrative Appeals Tribunal, and I gave evidence that he did actually apply for the English test before making the application for the visa, and it was delayed because of COVID. So eventually it was in his favor.
How long did it take to sort this out?
1.5 years, which is not bad because once it is sorted, then he gets another 2 years. So he got a longer period.
So how was he able to stay back in the country if the 485 was rejected? Did he have a bridging visa?
When 485 is rejected, or when any visa is refused, the bridging visa that was associated with that application ceases 5 weeks after the refusal. So within this 5 week period, he either leaves the country or applies or does an appeal. So in his case, he did an appeal. Once the appeal is lodged, the bridging visa continues. The bridging visa inherits the conditions associated with the earlier visa. So if he was on a student visa and he has a bridging visa which then got extended after he made an appeal, it will have exactly the same condition that was on a student visa. So which means he can work. He can work full time if he is out of session, meaning he is not studying. He can work full time. But other than that, he doesn't get any medical benefits. A student doesn't get medical benefits. A student has to he has to make his own medical insurance sorted.
Now coming to fulfilling character requirement, when you apply for a 485, this has to only do with your police verifications in Australia?
Not necessarily. Character requirement is for any country where you may have lived since your previous application to Australia, where you have lived for more than 3 months cumulative. It could be your home country as well, or it could be Japan. You went there for maybe some studies or some workshop. So if it is cumulative more than 3 months, you have to get a police clearance. But note that for 485 visa, Australian police clearance is mandatory. If you do not have that when you apply, your application may be refused.
So when you say cumulative, you're talking about the entire period of stay as a student while in Australia.
Entire period of stay
as a student while in
Australia.
So if that exceeds 90 days, then I would need a police clearance from that country as well.
Yes. But those countries, the police clearance from those countries can be uploaded later. But Australian police clearance must be uploaded at the time of application.
Okay. What's the current time frame for processing 485?
It's quite unpredictable, but most of the cases were done within a month. In some cases, they were done within a couple of days. But I think these days, the processing is getting faster. It's all because there used to be a lot of backlog, which is getting cleared now, slowly.
Amitava, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Arun. Thank you, everyone. See you again next week.
Yeah, goodbye.